Кириллов и 9-й номер Александр Колев. Аэрсабль красиво в стеночку играет с Мериной. Аэрсабль под левую уходит. Ну 6 во всем составе национальной команды. Одноклубник Кубарси. Ямаль ходит штрафную, отдает передачу. Петков подает с правой ноги, но слишком сильно. Даже все-таки за ним останется место основного голкипера. Есть Нико Уильямс. Ника что придумает? Бьет Нико Уильямс в створ, и еще одно спасение Вудсова. Но здесь, конечно, попроще. Вудсов и трансфера не состоялось. А Зениту денег никто не вернул. В итоге всех заскамил и остался в Атлетике. Учился Педри, а вот Уильямс подает. Ценов. Золотого мяча. А сейчас, возможно, обладатель будущего. Подача. Ямаль на Родри. Родри с лету бьется. Сколько мы встречу за сборную сейчас. Родри создал опасный момент для Ямаля. Не получилось пробить. Неужто устали? Ну и понятно. Против... Подсели немножко, как будто бы болгары. Предугадать сейчас действительно тяжело. Карвахаль подает. Летом из Софийской Славии. Это его всего лишь 5-й матч за сборную. Сейчас Вудсов чуть был гол. Все это Вокка. Дани Ольма готовится выйти на замену. И здесь баллисты. Родри толкает соперника. И подача хорошая. Обязательно смотрите Вокка эту горячую встречу. Я уверен, она такой получится. Но испанцы. Николов. Пас нужно отдавать. И удар поворотом от Петкова. Но это Симон. Штрафной площади Болгарии. Отдал ему прекрасную передачу. Игрок, конечно, знакомый российским зрителям. Выступал он штрафную, 16-й номер сборной Болгарии. Петков нужно бить, и заблудился. Карвахаль штрафную готовится бегать. Его увидел Ямаль. Но Карвахаль уже движение назад сделал. Тогда Болгария выступила чуть хуже, чем Ольма. Штрафной площади. И там Вудсов ничего бы сделать не смог. Неточная передача. Сразу замечает Болгарию и даже соперников, которых практически никого не заметив. Но и сейчас Испания почти не замечает Болгарию и даже соперников, которых... Кёйсен. Нарушение правил в атаке. Очередной раз досталось болельцу сборной Болгарии. Видел подключившегося Хесуса Родригеса. Родригес прострел. Карвахаль. Прострел. Получилось, не получится. Последним сможет ли футболиста Ильяна Ильева. Уильямс пас дальше на Ямале. Ямаль может сейчас пробить и забивать. Кириллов и 9-й номер Александр Колев. 9. Ну 6. Одноклубник Кубарси. Ямаль ходит штрафную, отдает передачу. Даже все-таки за ним останется место основного голкипера. Трансфера не состоялось. А Зениту денег никто не вернул. Учился Педри, а вот Уильямс подает. Золотого мяча. А сейчас, возможно, обладатель будущего. Подсели немножко, как будто бы болгары. Подача от Ольма. Мяч не, к сожалению, для болгарских болельщиков. Педри. В подкате пошел болгарский футболист. И штрафной площади Болгарии. Отдал ему прекрасную передачу. Штрафную, 16-й номер сборной Болгарии. Петков нужно бить, и заблудился. Ольма. Штрафной площади. И неточная передача. Сразу видел подключившегося Хесуса Родригеса. Родригес прострелит. Последним сможет ли футболиста Ильяна Ильева. И не ждал он мяча в этой ситуации. Удар поворотом 3-0. Это Микель Мерина. Испания доводит счет до разгромного уже в первом тайме. Но в принципе без неожиданности, да? Главная интрига за штрафную. Ламин подает с правой ноги. А там будет сегодня пытаться цементировать центр полузащиты болгарской команды. Недялкова. Уильямс под левую подает. Пинков отдает передачу штрафную на Педри. Педри прострел. Заблан. Пас направо. Неудачно получается, но подбор снова за испанца работает. Подача сейчас. Кукурелли не на Ламин Ямаль. Под левую убрал передачу штраф. Направо. Снова на Ямале. Снова точный пас касания. Ямаля не точную. Казалось бы, на Аэрсабля. Мяч у Педри. Выше. Здорово пропускал Аэрсабль, но не увидел, что партнер. Ну и обработка всегда тоже изящная. Пошел вперед Динали. Из самых громких клубов, наверное, Киева. Еще 1-1 по корнерам. Подача высокая. Там Кирилла, штрафная площадь соперника. Бить будет. Кириллов бьет, попадает штраф. Могут меняться между собой и меняться с Вудсовым. Подача, удар от Хёйсена. Ямаль штрафной, Ламин Ямаль. Нужно бить. Ямаль и не забивает. Неплохо. Кукурелли штрафной. Удар поворотом и гол. 2-0. Все очень просто. Защитник Челси удваивает преимущество в счете. Великолепный раскатистый удар в дальний угол. И не справляется с ним Вудсов. Тащил. Голкипер сборной Болгарии. Да не вытащил в этом эпизоде. Марк Кукурелли. 2-0. Очередной мяч забивает крайний защитник сборной Испании. Прекрасный прошлый сезон. На Колева. Колева завалили на газон, а потом он сделал... Раскрывается арена, раскрывается и шумит. Вперед, но Педри выбрал другой вариант развития. И вот передача на его 19 последних матчей в сборной. Это удар издалека может быть. Педри бьет, рикошет есть, угловой. Будто бы нарушал Димитров, но не замечает этого Иванович, потому что... Так вот. Испания контролирует. Там как раз таки Кукурелли. И удар издалека выше. Это Петропора. Он бить умеет. Поймал его режиссер. И Ямаль подает на ближнюю. Может сейчас пропустить третий. Подача. Сейчас Нюрнбергера. Сложно было даже сосчитать. Порра простреливает угловой. Забивать. Передача хорошая. Мерина. 4-0. Ямаль с мячом. А он отсюда и пробить может. Ямаль бьет поворотом. В 2019-м долго просто не играл. Ямаль, штрафной площади соперник. На ваших экранах подача. Передача Педри. Педри не бьет, на замахе пытается убрать соперника. Йойсен. Штрафную. Это Субименди. Мартин отдает передачу штрафную. Ямаля, он вернулся на любимый для себя правый фланг. Закидывает в этом тайме. Доверяет Делафуэнте Аэрсабелю. Ну как можно не доверять футболисту, который чемпионами мира. И Ламин Ямаль ходит штрафную. Ламин подает с правой ноги. А Танков отдает передачу штрафную на Педри. Педри прострел. Забласта работает. Подача сейчас. Кукурелли не направо. Снова на Ямале. Снова точный пас касания. Ямаля не... Из самых громких клубов, наверное, Киева. Еще Кирилла. Штрафной площадь соперника. Бить будет Кириллов. Бьет и попадает штраф. Ямаль штрафной. Ламин Ямаль. Нужно бить. Ямаль и не забивать. Болгарская команда остается в Лиге С. В Лиге наций тяжело футболисту. Как будто бы свой удар всем видом показал, что будет бить. Очень даже легко после этой атаки. Давайте поговорим. Подача от Ямаля. Порра с правого фланга простреливает. Отличная передача. Скрывается арена. Раскрывается и шумит. За его 19 последних матчей в сборной. Так вот. Испания контролирует. Может сейчас пропустить третий. Подача. Забивать. Передача хорошая. Мерина. 4-0. В 2019-м долго просто не играл. Ямаль, штрафной площади соперник. Передача Педри. Педри не бьет, на замахе пытается убрать соперника. Это
Have you ever noticed that every World Cup has one match everyone thinks is already over before it even begins? A game that looks completely predictable. A game where one team is expected to dominate. A game where the result seems obvious. And yet, those are often the matches that create the biggest surprises. That brings us to Spain versus Cape Verde. On one side, you have Spain, European champions, one of the most talented squads in world football. A team packed with world-class stars and considered one of the favorites to win the entire 2026 FIFA World Cup. On the other side, you have Cape Verde, a nation of just over 500,000 people, a country making its first ever appearance at a FIFA World Cup, a team that many casual football fans barely know. When people looked at this fixture, most immediately assumed one thing: Spain wins comfortably. End of story. But football has never been that simple, because World Cups are built on pressure, and pressure can make even the strongest teams uncomfortable. Before we talk about Cape Verde, let's understand exactly why Spain are being talked about as genuine World Cup contenders. This isn't the Spain that won the World Cup in 2010, and it's not the Spain that disappointed in several recent tournaments. This version is different, more aggressive, more direct, more dangerous, and perhaps most importantly, more balanced. For years, Spain controlled possession better than almost anyone in football. The problem was turning that possession into goals. Now that problem seems to be disappearing. The heart of everything is Rodri. He may not be the flashiest player on the pitch. He may not score the spectacular goals. But when Rodri plays, Spain control games. Every attack starts with him. Every transition flows through him. Every movement around him becomes easier. He's the engine that keeps the entire system running. Then you add Pedri, a player who seems to see spaces before they even exist. The way he escapes pressure, the way he finds passing lanes, the way he manipulates defenders. It's like watching someone play football 2 seconds ahead of everyone else. Alongside them is Fabian Ruiz, a midfielder who doesn't always get headlines but consistently hurts opponents with intelligent movement and precise passing. Together, these three form one of the strongest midfield units in international football. And that's before we even reach Spain's attack. Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, Dani Olmo, Ferran Torres, Mikel Oyarzabal. Goals, creativity, speed, technical brilliance, everywhere. Even with some fitness concerns surrounding a few players, Spain have enough depth to overwhelm almost any opponent in this tournament. That's why so many experts believe they can go all the way. But here's where things get interesting. Because football isn't played on paper, and Cape Verde didn't reach the World Cup by accident. Think about their journey. Most people expected Cameroon to qualify. Cameroon are one of Africa's football giants, a nation with World Cup history, a nation with experience, a nation with pedigree. But Cape Verde had other plans. They stayed organized, they stayed disciplined, and somehow they found a way to finish ahead of one of Africa's traditional powers. That alone should tell you something. This team knows exactly who they are. They aren't trying to become Spain. They aren't trying to dominate possession. They aren't trying to entertain millions with beautiful football. They're trying to survive. And sometimes survival is enough. Because survival creates belief, and belief can be dangerous. Cape Verde understand that they probably won't have much of the ball. They understand Spain will control possession. They understand they'll spend long periods defending. So instead of fighting reality, they've embraced it. Expect them to sit deep. Expect compact defensive lines. Expect two holding midfielders protecting the back four. Expect every player to work behind the ball. Their mission is simple. Close every space. Protect the center. Force Spain wide. Make every chance difficult. Make every attack frustrating. And if they can do that for long enough, something interesting starts to happen. Pressure begins to grow. Not on Cape Verde, on Spain. Because every minute without a goal changes the atmosphere. Every missed chance creates doubt. Every defensive clearance boosts confidence. Every save makes the underdog believe a little more. And that's exactly why the opening stages of this match are so important. The first 30 minutes could decide everything. If Spain score early, the game could open up quickly. Cape Verde would be forced to attack. Spaces would appear. Spain's attackers would have more room to operate, and the match could become very one-sided. But if Cape Verde survive that opening storm, everything changes. The crowd becomes nervous. Spain start forcing passes. Frustration begins to grow, and suddenly the underdog starts believing. We've seen it happen before. World Cups are full of stories where favorites looked comfortable until they weren't, where giants dominated possession but couldn't find a breakthrough, where one unexpected moment changed everything. And that's exactly what makes this match fascinating. Not because Spain are likely to lose, but because football always leaves room for possibility. And Cape Verde only need one moment, one mistake, one counter-attack, one opportunity to make the entire world pay attention. Now here's the question that could decide everything. How long can Cape Verde resist? Because eventually every defensive block reaches a breaking point. And when you're facing a team like Spain, that breaking point usually arrives sooner rather than later. The biggest battle in this match won't be Spain's attack against Cape Verde's defense. It will be Spain's midfield against Cape Verde's discipline. That's where this game will truly be won or lost. Spain will likely dominate possession, maybe 65%, maybe 70%, possibly even more. But possession alone doesn't win football matches. What matters is what you do with it. Can Spain move the ball quickly enough? Can they pull defenders out of position? Can they create overloads in dangerous areas? Can they find the spaces between the lines? Because if they can, Cape Verde could be in serious trouble. And that's where players like Pedri become incredibly important. Watch him closely. Most football fans focus on goals and assists, but Pedri's greatest strength is something much harder to notice: space. He understands space better than almost anyone in world football. He drifts into areas defenders don't expect. He appears where pressure is weakest, and before opponents realize what's happening, Spain are attacking dangerous positions. Then there's Fabian Ruiz, the player who often does his best work without attracting attention. Defenders focus on Spain's wingers. They focus on Rodri. They focus on whoever is leading the attack. And suddenly, Fabian Ruiz arrives late into space. It's a pattern we've seen over and over again, and it causes problems for every opponent. But the most important player might still be Rodri, because while everyone else creates chances, Rodri controls the rhythm. He decides when Spain speed up. He decides when they slow down. He decides when they attack and when they recycle possession. In many ways, he's the conductor of Spain's orchestra. And if he controls the tempo, Cape Verde could spend most of the match chasing shadows. But let's give Cape Verde some credit, because they do have weapons of their own. Every great underdog story needs a leader. For Cape Verde, that player is Ryan Mendes, the captain, the veteran, the player carrying years of international experience. This is the biggest match in his nation's football history, and if Cape Verde creates something special, chances are Ryan Mendes will be involved. Whether it's a dangerous counter-attack, a set piece, or simply a moment of leadership when the pressure becomes overwhelming. He's the player Spain cannot afford to ignore. Then there's Logan Costa, arguably the most important player on Cape Verde's team sheet, because his job isn't just defending. His job is organization, communication, leadership, calmness. When Spain begin the endless waves of attacks, Costa will be responsible for holding everything together. And trust me, that's easier said than done. Because sooner or later, Spain's quality will test every defender on that pitch. But here's what makes World Cup special. Every tournament creates a new hero. Someone nobody expected. Someone whose life changes forever in a single match. Maybe it's a goalkeeper producing unbelievable saves. Maybe it's a defender making crucial blocks. Maybe it's a substitute scoring the goal that nobody saw coming. Every World Cup gives us moments like that, and maybe this match will too. So let's imagine three possible scenarios. Scenario number 1, the dream scenario for Cape Verde. Spain starts slowly. The defensive block works perfectly. The clock keeps ticking. The score remains level. Suddenly Spain become impatient. A mistake happens. Cape Verde launch a counter-attack. And somehow, against all expectations, they score first. Now everything changes. The pressure explodes. Spain panic. The crowd senses a shock. And Cape Verde start believing that history is possible. That's the scenario every underdog dreams about. Scenario number 2. Spain score early. Very early. Maybe within the opening 15 or 20 minutes. Now Cape Verde have no choice. They must come forward. They must take risks. They must leave spaces behind. And that's exactly what Spain want. Because once those spaces appear, the match can quickly become one-way traffic. 2 goals, 3 goals, maybe even more. This is the scenario most football analysts expect. But then there's scenario number 3, the one I think is most likely. Cape Verde compete. They stay organized. They frustrate Spain for long periods. They defend bravely. They make life difficult for a while. But eventually the quality gap becomes too big. Spain's movement becomes too clever. Spain's passing becomes too precise. Spain's depth becomes too much. And little by little the resistance begins to break. Because over 90 minutes, elite teams usually find solutions. That's what separates contenders from everyone else. And that's why this match could tell us something important about Spain's World Cup chances. The result alone isn't the real story. The real story is how they win. Can they remain patient? Can they stay calm when spaces disappear? Can they break down disciplined defensive teams? Because if Spain want to lift the World Cup trophy, they'll face opponents who defend exactly like this. The knockout rounds won't be easy. The pressure will only increase. And this could be their first major test. So after looking at everything, the tactics, the players, the strengths, the weaknesses, I still believe Spain are clear favorites. Their midfield is superior. Their squad depth is superior. Their technical quality is superior. And over the course of 90 minutes, those advantages usually decide football matches. Cape Verde will fight. They'll defend. They'll embrace the occasion. And they'll make their nation proud. But eventually, Spain should find the breakthrough. My prediction? Spain 3, Cape Verde 0. A competitive first half, a stubborn defensive effort. Then Spain's quality takes over after the break. But don't let that prediction fool you. Because the most important thing about this match isn't the scoreline. It's what the performance tells us about Spain's path to the World Cup title. Are they simply one of the favorites? Or are they truly the team to beat? That's the question football fans around the world will be asking when the final whistle blows. And the answer might be the first major clue about who lifts the FIFA World Cup 2026 trophy.